As far as the east is from the west, as far as the worst is from the best, as far as the future's from the past, as far as the first is from the last, He is holy. I'm unworthy. He is faithful in all of His ways. He is worthy. I'm unholy. He has taken my sins away. And oh, how far He's taken my sins away from me. As far as the heavens from the earth, as far as the dying from the birth, as far as the darkness from the light, as far as the blindness from the sight, He is holy. I'm unworthy. He is faithful in all of His ways. He is worthy. I'm unholy. He has taken my sins away. And oh, how far He's taken my sins away from me. And oh, how far He's taken my sins away from me.
Praise be to the Lord.
Praise be to
Let the praise be to the Lord. Praise be to the Lord. Praise be to the Lord. Let the praise be to the Lord. Praise be to the Lord, to the God our Savior, who daily bears, who daily bears, who daily bears our burdens, who daily bears, who daily bears, who daily bears our burdens. Praise be to the Lord. Let the praise be to the Lord. Praise be to the Lord. Praise be to the Lord. Let the praise be to the Lord. Praise be to the Lord, to the God our Savior, who daily bears, who daily bears, who daily bears our burdens. Praise be to the Lord. Let the praise be to the Lord. Praise be to
So hello, it is good to see you tonight, except I can't really see you, can I? But hopefully you are out there. So I am live streaming by myself tonight, so you will only get a dose of Greg. Hope that you enjoy this. We are going through 2 Kings for the Bible Bowl. So hopefully we'll learn some lessons as we go through that. Hopefully some of the kids who are going to be doing Bible Bowl are listening. And hopefully they're learning. Usually we would be meeting in our classrooms to do that, but since we are social distancing and we have not started classes back yet, then we are doing that through the live stream. So we're just going to have a good time tonight. We are going to go through 2 Kings chapter 7 and 8. We're going to try to learn some lessons. I am going to do a couple of things. I'm going to cover the text. There is some ambiguity about two of the kings that we are going to try to clear up a little bit, as much as I know how. And then we're going to have some review questions and just going to have a good time. So we're just going to start with the text. And it will be a little different tonight because I'm clicking a lot of different screens. But we'll just start with the text and then we will work right through 2 Kings chapter 7 and 8. I want to remind you before we get started about what is happening at the beginning of 2 Kings chapter 7. Now, in chapter 6 that Jeff covered last week, Jeff and Jackson covered that. But in that chapter, the Syrian army had come to capture Elisha, and if you remember, Elisha struck them with blindness. And he brought them to the king of Israel. But he wouldn't let the king of Israel destroy them. He fed them and sent them back home. After that, Ben-Hadad, who's the king of Syria, came back. And now he is laying siege to Samaria. And there is this huge famine that is happening. And if you remember last week, as we covered part of that, We talked about how much a donkey's head would cost and how much dove droppings would cost. And I just looked at this slide. I just copied this from Jeff last week. I think, man, maybe that's not spelled wrong. Anyway, so a donkey would be an unclean animal, so you wouldn't want to eat a donkey anyway. But a donkey's head, which had to be one of the most disgusting parts of the donkey to eat, was 80 shekels of silver. That's how bad the famine was. And dove droppings were 5 shekels of silver for a 1/4 of a cab. So 1/4 of a cab is about a 16-ounce bottle's worth, okay? So that's about 1/4 of a cab. And so if you can imagine that being dove droppings, and you're buying that to eat. And in a modern day, we divided a shekel is a certain weight. So we took the price of silver and we converted that kind of into a modern day price, would be $6.28. But after I got to thinking about that last week, I got to thinking about a couple of other things, and I wouldn't make any of these things gospel, okay? They're just fun to think about. But if you think about that, a donkey's head then would be $502.40, and dove droppings, this much, would be, can't get my camera right there, $31.40. But I got to thinking about that. A shekel is basically 4 denarii, and a denarii was kind of the average pay for a day. So I went to the State of Tennessee website. Our average hourly wage in the state of Tennessee, if you don't know this, is just barely under $20 an hour as an average. So we work 8 hours a day, so a daily wage on that would be $160, which means a shekel would have been $640, and 80 shekels would have been $51,200. Now, again, this is just fun to think about. It's not really a true comparison. And this little bottle of dove droppings here, I gotta figure out how to do my hands in this reverse thing. It would be $3,200. So, I mean, if you went back to the shekel price, you've got to think a donkey's head would be about 80 shekels would be 320 days of work and there's 5 days. If you work 5 days a week, 52 days 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year, that's 260 days. It would take you a year and 2 months of salary to buy a donkey's head, if you think about it that way. Or it would take you roughly a month of work to buy this container of dove droppings. That is only to illustrate the fact that the famine is really severe. So in 2 Kings chapter 7, verse 1, Elisha comes along and, hang on just a second, here we go. So Elisha said, "Hear the word of the Lord, thus says the Lord. Tomorrow about this time, a seah of fine flour shall be sold for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel at the gate of Samaria." So if we go back to our little chart here, a seah of fine flour, $640, that's still a lot, right? Even if you just convert the silver price, $6.28 is still a lot, if you think about it that way. But I wanted to illustrate how much a seah was. So let me see if I can find the right button here, move me to the other side of the screen. So a seah is about a gallon and a little bit, okay? So if you look at those gallon jugs that are up there on the right side of the screen, that's about how much a seah would be. Somebody else described it would be about the amount of a soccer ball. So when Elisha comes along and he makes this prophecy, he gives them this word from God, then what he is saying is that this famine is coming to an end. And it's going to come to an end tomorrow. I mean, you can just imagine if you were in just some, it would almost be if the prophet of God showed up with all of the COVID-19 stuff that's going on, and he said, "Listen, I just want you to know that tomorrow, this is all going to be over." And would we believe that? Would we believe that? So the officer in 7:2, on whose hand the king leaned, he supported the king, answered the man of God, "Look, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, could this thing be? I mean, could God really do that?" And when you think of, I don't know what you think about when you think of about windows, but this is not a little window. We're talking about, think more in terms of a big gate, or maybe a floodgate, or think about something really big, not something really small, okay? And so this officer says, is that really going to happen? And Elisha says, "Well, in fact, you'll see it with your eyes, but you won't eat any of it." So then the story changes, and he tells us what happens. So there are 4, and we're not going to read all the way through the text. You can read this stuff later. So there's 4 leprous men who sit outside the city gate. Of course, they're unclean, so they can't go inside the city. And they're outside the city gate, and this huge famine's going on. And so they start pondering, what is it that they should do? They say, well, if we enter the city, if we go into the city, the famine is in the city, so we'll die. Well, if we stay out here, well, we're going to die. So let's just go surrender to the Syrians. Maybe they'll spare us, and maybe we'll live, or if not, we'll die. And they've already determined they're going to die because of the famine. So at twilight, they'll go out to the camp of the Syrians, and when they get there, and they get to the outskirts of the camp, there's not anybody there. And God had caused the Syrians to hear the noise of chariots, and the noise of horses, and the noise of a great army. And they said, well, they hired the Egyptians and the Hittites to attack us. Now, if we go over to a map really quick, just so you can see this, I've got this up for something we're going to look at a little bit later. But if we go up here and change just a little bit, and we go, whoops, wrong button, divided kingdoms, ancient empires. You will see if we span out, this is the Egyptian empire at its height, where it covered the land of Palestine. But so the Egyptians are here. The Hittites are a huge nation up here. And Syria is stuck right here in the middle of these two. So they think, okay, they've hired the Hittites from the north and the Egyptians from the south, and they are going to come and they are going to destroy us. So they flee in the middle of the night. They flee and they run away. So when the 4 lepers get to the camp, there's nobody in the camp. So the text tells us that they go to the tent, and and they eat, and they drink, and they carry the silver and the gold and the clothing, and they go and they hide them. So then they come back and they go to another tent, and they take some stuff from there and they go hide it as well. And then their conscience kicks in, and they say, what we're doing is not right, because this is a day of good news. This is the day of deliverance. And if we remain silent, at morning light, some punishment will come on us. Now, there are a couple of quick lessons. Make sure I'm not taking too much time. There's a couple of quick lessons there. Number one, never doubt what God can do. When God chooses to act, God can do whatever God chooses to do. There's no power, there's no person, there's no thing. There is nothing that can keep God from accomplishing what he wants to accomplish. Remember that officer who said, will this really happen? The second thing is, it's interesting how it touches the conscience of these 4 leprous men. I mean, maybe they've been mistreated. They've been outside the camp. Probably can't go inside the city. There are all kind of things going on. They might think, nobody cares much about us anyway. We'll just take all this stuff for ourselves. But they don't. They go to the gatekeepers. They tell the gatekeepers what happened, and so they go down to the king's household. And the king gets up. It's the middle of the night. Okay, remember they went at twilight, so it's the middle of the night when they go probably wake the king up to tell him what's going on. And the king devises this plan. He says, well, I know what's happening. The Syrians have gone out of the camp, and they're going to hide themselves, and then they know we're hungry. So when we come out of the camp, and we try to get the food, and we try to get the stuff, then they're going to attack us, and they're going to kill us. And I can see why he would be apprehensive about going out to see what has happened. But several of his servants came to him and said, look, let's take some of the 5 remaining horses. Now, I don't know if 5 horses was all that's left in the city or not, but there's at least 5 remaining horses, right? And they haven't eaten those yet. And the 5 remain in the city, and let's go look, and let's see what's happened. I mean, if we go out and they consume us, then they'll just consume us. So they took 2 chariots with horses, and the king sends them in the direction of the Syrian army, and they says, just go see. And they went after them all the way to the River Jordan. And I mean, just think about what this looks like. They've been throwing clothes as they're running, their armor, their weapons. I mean, it's all of this stuff is just laying down the road as they have fled in the middle of the night because they're afraid that they're going to be destroyed. And so the people went out and did what they should do. They plundered the tents of the Syrians. They got all of their goods, and a seah of fine flour sold for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel, just like God had said. And in verse 17, we're not supposed to forget the officer who the king leaned on his hand, right? The one who said, can this really happen? Well, it happened just as God said. And the officer who had answered, look, if God were to make windows in heaven, it wouldn't, could such a thing happen? And Elisha told him, you'll see it, but you won't eat of it. So it happened to him that as the people went out the city gate, that they trampled him to death, and he died. And so that's chapter 7. Chapter 8, okay, we're doing great. We're in 15 minutes. All right, so chapter 8, we go back and visit the Shunammite woman. If you remember, Elisha raised the son of the Shunammite woman. So when the famine was coming to be, Elisha went to the Shunammite woman and said, look, there's going to be a famine. This is Greg Smith paraphrase. There's going to be a famine, and it's going to come on the land for 7 years. So why don't you and your household, you go stay wherever you can, because there's going to be a famine. And so the woman, she rose and she did what Elisha said. And again, you know, the Shunammite woman who has just this great faith in what Elisha has to say. And so she leaves and she goes to the land of the Philistines. Now, let me zoom in on this map just a little bit so we can see where we're at. So Shunem, whoop, went too far, sorry about that. So Shunem is up in this area here. And so she goes down into this area in Philistia with the Philistines, and she lives down there for 7 years until the famine has ended. And when the famine has ended, she comes back to her land, and she's going to go to the king. And as she goes to the king, she's going to make an appeal for her house and her land so that she can have that back. And the king was talking with Gehazi. If you remember Gehazi, a couple of chapters before, Gehazi was a servant of Elisha that went to see Naaman and got the money when he wasn't supposed to get the money. And Naaman's leprosy, his skin disease, went to Gehazi. And Gehazi is there talking to the king. And the king is asking, he said, please tell me all of these great things that Elisha has done. So isn't God wonderful the way that he works circumstances out? I mean, do you think it's just circumstance that Gehazi happens to be there talking to the king at the same time the woman who Elisha has raised his son comes in and asks for her stuff back, for her land and her property? And so as he's telling the king how he's restored the dead to life, the woman whose son he restored to life comes in before the king, and Gehazi says, this is the woman. And this is her son who Elisha restored to life. And when the king asked the woman about it, she told him about what Elisha had done. So the king appointed an officer and said, you go restore everything that belongs to her. And it's really interesting. All the proceeds of the field from the day she left the land until now. So not only did she get her property, her land back, but she also got back everything that the land had produced. So Elisha leaves there, and Elisha goes up to Damascus. Now, if we go back to our map, just quickly, let's zoom out a little bit. Aram here is Syria. Okay, so some translations have Aram and the Arameans. We're doing Bible Bold out of the New King James Version. So the New King James Version has Syria. So where this says Aram, you just think Syria because it's the same area. Now Damascus is the capital, and it's up here. And Elisha is just kind of all over in this area. But if you just, I know somebody's probably going to ask me this question. So let me go ahead and look. From Samaria, and the only way I can do this is kind of way the bird flies. From Samaria to Damascus is roughly 105 miles. Okay, and you probably can't see this as well on your screen, but this purple road right here, that's a minor road. So you would have to leave Samaria, go up this minor road, and then go up this road to Damascus. So it would be somewhat more than that by the time you traveled around on the road. But so Elisha goes up to Damascus. Ben-Hadad is the ruler of Samaria, the one who has been waging war against Israel and Samaria down here. And he's sick. And it's interesting, okay, he's sick. He sent people to capture Elisha first, and they were blinded, and Elisha spared their life. Then he went to war against Samaria and Israel. And now that he's sick, he finds out that Elisha has come to Damascus, and he's going to send a present to Elisha asking if he's going to get well. Man, I don't want to make too much of that, and I don't want to start pulling a bunch of lessons where they're not lessons, but how many times do we do all kind of things that aren't very godly, or we're not following God, and as soon as we get sick, as soon as something happens, we take off running to God. So that's kind of what happens here. So he says to Hazael, who is his servant, take a present in your hand and go meet the man of God and inquire, just ask him, shall I recover from this disease? So Hazael went out to meet him. He took a present, 40 camel loads. I mean, that is some kind of president. I mean, he didn't take like a little thing. It's not like he has, just a few things to take to Elisha. 40 camel loads of every good thing of Damascus. And he brings that to Elisha to ask this question. And he said, hey, your son Ben-Hadad of Syria sent me. He wants to know, shall I recover from the disease? And Elisha said, you go say to him, you'll certainly recover. However, the Lord has shown me that he will really die. Now that seems contradictory, doesn't it? Oh, no, he's going to recover. Well, really, he's going to die. Well, he's going to recover from the illness. He's not dying from the illness. He's dying because Hazael is going to kill him so he can be king. And Elisha said, you'll certainly recover. However, the Lord has shown me that he will really die. And Elisha, man, I wish I could see this in the movie. Elisha is staring at Hazael till he's ashamed. And Elisha starts weeping. He starts crying. And Hazael says, why are you weeping? Why are you crying? And he says, because I know the evil that you will do to the children of Israel. So God knows that he's going to become king, but he also knows that he's going to do evil to the children of Israel. And part of that is God's discipline and God's punishment. You're going to set their strongholds on fire. And this is horrible language. They're young men you will kill with a sword. You will dash their children and rip open their women with child. I mean, just the brutal nature of war. And Isaiah said, what, am I a dog? Am I a dog that I do such a horrible, gross thing? And then Elisha said, the Lord has shown me you will become king over Syria. Now, I'm not going to tell you where to find this, but if you will go back to Elijah, after Elijah is on Mount Carmel, and then after he flees because Jezebel says she's going to kill him, and after he's alone in the wilderness, and he starts back, and God gives him some instructions. One instruction that he gives is that you anoint Hazael king over Syria. So God knows this is going to happen. So he departs from Elisha. He comes back to Ben-Hadad, and of course, Ben-Hadad obviously asks. He's the sick guy, right? He said, "What did Elisha say?" And he said, "Well, he told me you're going to recover." You know, he didn't tell him the other part, right? He told him you're going to recover. So on the next day, Hazael takes this thick cloth. He dips it in water. He puts it over his face, and he kills him. He smothers him, and Hazael becomes king in his place. Now, as we kind of go through Bible Bowl, there are a couple of things that we need we need to show you, and as because it's a little bit confusing, so this isn't going to be lesson as much, not explaining the text as much as trying to fit some pieces together. Okay, so let's go to 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 16. Now in the 5th year of Joram, the king of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat, having been king of Judah, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, began to reign as king of Judah. And he was 32 years old when he became king, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem. And he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, just as the house of Ahab had done, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife, and he did evil in the sight of the Lord. Yet the Lord would not destroy Judah for the sake of his servant David, as he promised to give him a lamp to him and his sons forever. Quick aside, and I'm not going to take a lot of time to cover this. Go back and read this later. God would not destroy Judah for the sake of his servant David. God made a promise, and this is something you can write down from tonight, from 2 Kings chapter 8. God always honors his promises. But as we read through the text, sometimes there's some confusion when you read through the text about Joram and Jehoram. Okay, I know in this text they're different names, all right? So let's just kind of go to this timeline, and I want you to see where we are in, let me get rid of this window down at the bottom. Where we are, Jehoram is right here. He is a king of Israel, all right? And down here you have Jehoram, and this Jehoram is king of Judah. Here you have Ahaziah, who is a king of Judah. And up here you have Ahaziah, who is the king of Israel. So you have kings of Israel and kings of Judah that have the same names. And where this one, the king of Judah, sometimes we call him down here Jehoram, Jehoram, and up here the king of Israel, Joram. And you say, well, that distinguishes the two. That does not always distinguish the two. The spelling of the names fluctuates back and forth as you read through the first part of 2 Kings. So look at 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 17. So Ahaziah died according to the word of the Lord which Elijah had spoken. Because he had no son, Jehoram became king in his place in the 2nd year of Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah. So when you get to 2 Kings chapter 1, verse 17, the name is spelled exactly the same for both kings. And what happens, and I'm just talking about the New King James Version, okay, because that's what we're doing Bible Bowl in. What happens is it's not consistent. So we have Jehoram, who is the king of Israel. Okay, so Jehoram in several of these passages, in 2 Kings 1:17, 2 Kings 3:1, 2 Kings 3:6, he is called Jehoram, Jehoram. Most of the time, when you get to 2 Kings 8 and 2 Kings 9, his name is spelled Joram instead of Jehoram. In fact, there's one interesting verse in chapter, I believe it's chapter 9. It is spelled one way in one verse, and in the very next verse, it's this 2 Kings 9:24. It's just spelled different ways. It's Jehoram in one verse and Joram in the next, and Joram in the next verse. So as you read through 2 Kings, if you're getting ready for Bible Bowl, you need to be aware of that. And to make it even more confusing, when you have Jehoram, king of Judah, he spelled Jehoram in these passages in 2 Kings. And in these passages in 2 Kings, it's Joram. So I just want you to be aware of that as you read through 2 Kings, because it's going to fluctuate back and forth, and you be very careful about which king they are talking about. And maybe we can make this chart, maybe we can do something to make that chart available to you. And if you're sending me messages, by the way, I don't see those because I have a hard time doing this. I've got an iPad. Look, I've got an iPad that's got a chat box on it here. I got a phone that's got a chat box on it here. So I'm trying to see if you have any questions. So if you have some, throw them in there. Maybe I'll be able to get to them and see them. So here's another chart to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about and how these fit together. Let me move back over to the other side of the screen. So Omri had a son. He was a king of Israel. And Omri has a son, and his name is Ahab. So we know Ahab because Ahab is married to Jezebel. And all this time, this stuff is going on in 2 Kings. Jezebel, by the way, is still alive. Ahab is dead, but Jezebel is not going to die for a couple more chapters, so she's still there. So Ahab marries Jezebel, and they have sons. Now, as we're in the section of 2 Kings that we're in, one son was Ahaziah, and he only reigned 1 year. And when he died, since he had no son, Joram, which was Ahab, another son of Ahab and Jezebel, he became king after Ahaziah reigned 1 year. So the stuff that we're reading about tonight, Joram is king of Israel. Now, within all that, there is a Jehoshaphat. Now, he is the king of Judah. Okay, so don't get this confused. Jehoshaphat is a king of Judah. And Jehoshaphat, he turns the kingdom over to his son. Went too far. His name is Jehoram. All right, now, if we go back to the text, as if I can get back to the text really quickly. Got too many windows here. All right, so if we go back to the text, when we were in 816 and 817, he was 32 years old and he became king, and he reigned in 8 years in Jerusalem. He walked in the ways of kings of Israel, just as the house of Ahab have done, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife. All right, so remember that. The daughter of Ahab was his wife. So Jehoram is married to the daughter of Ahab. Now, in 820, in his days, Edom revolted against Judah's authority. And if you go back up to the map, so Edom revolts, which is this area right here. And so he goes to Zaire, all of his chariots, he goes to battle with the Edomites, and the Edomites surrounded him. And as they go into battle, all of the Israelites flee. And so Edom revolts against Judah, and they revolted. I mean, even to the time of the Second Kings is written, Edom's still in revolt. And Libnah, which is a city, nobody really knows where Libnah was. It was one of the sanctuary cities even, and it also revolted at that time. And so it says in 823, the rest of the acts of Joram and all of the deed, are they not written in the chronicles of the kings of Judah? So Joram rested with his fathers, and he was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And then Ahaziah, his son, reigned in his place. Now, read this description about Ahaziah. We're almost to the end of this. In the 12th year of Joram, which is the son of Ahab, the king of Israel, and remember, this is keeping all the Jorams and Jehorams straight. Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, the king of Judah, began to reign, and Ahaziah was 22 years when he became king, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Athaliah, the granddaughter of Omri, king of Israel. Okay, so you also know that Athaliah, who's the granddaughter of Omri, you go back to another. Well, let's read this, we'll go back. So he walked in the way of the house of Ahab and did evil in the sight of the Lord, like the house of Ahab, for he was son-in-law of the house of Ahab. So if we go back to our chart, I'm trying not to confuse you. So Jehoshaphat is king of Judah. He has a son, Jehoram, who marries the daughter of Ahab, which is the granddaughter of Omri. And then they have a son who is Ahaziah, which is the son that we just read about, who became king over Judah. So when Jehoram is king and Joram is king, they're kind of brother-in-laws. Okay, they've kind of got this daughter, or this sister, or at least stepsister, that links them. So when Ahaziah becomes king of Judah, and then in the next verse, when he goes to war to help Joram, he is going with he's going with his uncle. Okay, so all of the king of Israel and the king of Judah are connected through Ahab and Jezebel. And remember, in all of this time and all this stuff that's happening, Jezebel is still alive. So she may be having an influence in all the things that are going on. Not sure about that. The text doesn't say, but I can't imagine her being totally quiet. So in the 12th year of Joram, we're in verse 28 now. In verse 28, now he went with Joram the son of Ahab to wage war against Hazael the king of Syria at Ramoth Gilead, and the Syrians wounded Joram. And King Joram went back to Jezreel to recover from the wounds which the Syrians had inflicted on him at Ramah, and when he fought against Hazael king of Syria. And Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Joram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel because he was sick. So, that's part of that process where you've got to keep all of those kings kind of straight. So when we pick up with 2 Kings chapter 9 next week, that's where we'll pick up with the things that are going on with them. So, but before we jump away from that, let's kind of go back to this and remind ourselves. So Jehoshaphat was king of Judah. Jehoram was king of Judah, and Ahaziah was king of Judah. Ahab was king of Israel, then Ahaziah was king of Israel, then Joram became king of Israel. So you're in an area where you have several different people with the same names who are connected to the kingship. So if you read through 2 Kings, we're going to have to really work hard to keep all of those names together. So we are ready for quiz time. I guess I'll have to answer the questions. I don't know. I went through these quickly, so it's kind of unfair because I already know the answers. So just there's 25 questions. We're just reviewing the Bible Bowl. Keep score if you can. Send me a text and tell me how many you get right. So especially, I noticed a couple of my cousins are watching. So tell me how you score on this as you get ready for 2 Kings. All right. So question number 1. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 1, during the siege of Samaria, Elijah prophesied, tomorrow about this time, a seah of flour shall be sold for A denarii, B, a shekel, C, 2 shekels. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 1, during the siege of Samaria, Elisha promised, tomorrow about this time, a seah of flour shall be sold for A denarii, B, a shekel, C, 2 shekels. Time. Correct answer is B, a shekel. Hope you got that right. Question number 2. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 2. Elisha replied to the king's officer, in fact, you shall see it with your eyes. A, but you shall not hear it. B, but you shall not eat of it. C, but you shall not speak of it. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 2. Elisha replied to the king's officer, in fact, you shall see it with your eyes. A, but you shall not hear it. B, but you shall not eat of it. C, but you shall not speak of it. Time. Correct answer is B, but you shall not eat of it. Sorry, just checking these chat boxes while I'm doing this. Question number 3. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 4. What did the 4 leprous men at the entrance of the gate decide to do? A, surrender to the army of the Syrians. B, join the sons of the prophets. C, ask Elisha to inquire of the Lord for them. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 4. What did the 4 leprous men at the entrance of the gate decide to do? A, surrender to the army of the Syrians. B, join the sons of the prophets. C, ask Elisha to inquire of the Lord for them. Time. Correct answer is A, surrender to the army of the Syrians. Question number 4. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 5. What did the 4 leprous men find when they went to the Syrian army's camp? A, the army was fast asleep. B, guards were watching the camp. C, no one was there. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 5. What did the 4 leprous men find when they went to the Syrian army's camp? A, the army was fast asleep. B, guards were watching the camp. C, no one was there. Time. Correct answer is C, no one was there. Question 5. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 6. Why did the Syrian army flee at twilight? A, the Lord caused them to hear the noise of horses and chariots. B, the Lord caused them to become confused and fight one another. C, the Lord caused them to see a great army in the clouds. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 6. Why did the Syrian army flee at twilight? A, the Lord caused them to hear the noise of horses and chariots. B, the Lord caused them to become confused and fight one another. C, the Lord caused them to see a great army in the cloud. Time. Correct answer is A, the Lord caused them to hear the noise of horses and chariots. Question number 6. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 8. What did the lepers do with the silver, gold, and clothing they took from the Syrian army tents? A, bring it to the king. B, share it with the Samaritan people. C, hide it. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 8. What did the lepers do with the silver, gold, and clothing they took from the Syrian army tent? A, bring it to the king. B, share it with the Samaritan people. C, hide it. Excuse me. Time. Correct answer is C, hide it. Then they repented and went to the guards, right? Oh, might have given you the answer to another question. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 11. Who called out to the king's household the good news that the Syrian army was gone? A, the king's officers. B, Elisha. C, the gatekeepers. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 11. Who called out to the king's household the good news that the Syrian army was gone? A, the king's officers. B, Elisha. C, gatekeepers. Time. Correct answer is C, gatekeepers. Question 8. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 16. What did the people of Samaria do when they knew the Syrians were gone and the siege was over? A, praised God on the city wall. B, plundered the tents of the Syrians. C, danced in the streets to celebrate. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 16. What did the people of Samaria do when they knew the Syrians were gone and the siege was over? A, praised God on the city wall. B, plundered the tent of the Syrians. C, danced in the streets to celebrate. Time. Correct answer is B, plundered the tents of the Syrians. Question number 9. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 17. What happened to the king's officer in charge of the gate who did not believe Elisha's prophecy? A, the people trampled him. B, a bear mauled him. C, he starved to death. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 17. What happened to the king's officer in charge of the gate who did not believe Elisha's prophecy? A, the people trampled him. B, a bear mauled him. C, he starved to death. Time. The answer is A, the people trampled him. Question number 10 of 25. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 19. How had the king's officer answered the man of God when he prophesied that a seah of flour would sell for a shekel? A, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, could such a thing be? B, praise be to the God above who rescues his people. C, thanks be to God who provides all things. 2 Kings chapter 7 verse 19. How had the king's officer answered the man of God when he prophesied that a seah of flour would sell for a shekel? A, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, could such a thing be? B, praise be to the God above who rescues his people. C, thanks be to God who provides all things. Time. Correct answer is A, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, could such a thing be? Question number 11. 2 Kings chapter 8 verse 1. Why did Elisha tell the Shunammite woman whose son he had brought back to life to leave? A, a foreign army would soon invade. B, there was going to be a famine. C, a great pestilence would soon cover the land. 2 Kings chapter 8 verse 1. Why did Elisha tell the Shunammite woman whose son he had brought back to life to leave? A, a foreign army would soon invade. B, there was going to be a famine. C, a great pestilence would soon cover the land. Time. Correct answer is B, there was going to be a famine. Question number 12. 2 Kings chapter 8 verse 2. According to Elisha, how long would the famine in Shunem last? A, 10 years. B, 7 months. C, 7 years. 2 Kings chapter 8 verse 2. According to Elisha, how long would the famine in Shunem last? A, 10 years. B, 7 months. C, 7 years. Time. Correct answer is C, 7 years. 2 Kings chapter 8 verse 4. Who is the king talking to when the Shunammite woman came to him to ask for her land back? A, Jehoram. B, Gehazi. C, Elisha. 2 Kings chapter 8 verse 4. Who is the king talking to when the Shunammite woman came to him to ask for her land back? A, Jehoram. B, Gehazi. C, Elisha. Time. Correct answer is B, Gehazi. 2 Kings chapter 8 verse 4. What did the king ask Gehazi to tell him? A, who had stolen the king's chariot. B, where Elisha was. C, 2 Kings chapter Gehazi to tell him. A, who had stolen the king's chariots. B, where Elisha was. C, all the great things Elisha had done. Time. Correct answer is C, all the great things Elisha had done. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 6. What did the king do for the Shunammite woman who came to ask for her land back? A. Restore all that was hers. B. Sell the land back to her for a profit. C. Find her a new home. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 6. What did the king do for the Shunammite woman who came to ask for her land back? A. Restore all that was hers. B. Sell the land back to her for a profit. C. Find her a new home. Time. Correct answer is A. Restore all that was hers. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 8. Who did Ben-Hadad send to Elisha with a present in his hand? A. Hazael. B. Gehazi. C. The man of God. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 8. Who did Ben-Hadad send to Elisha with a present in his hand? A. Hazael. B. Gehazi. C. The man of God. Time. Correct answer is A. Hazael. Hope you're doing well out there. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 7. Who was the king of Syria that asked for Elisha when he was sick? A. Jehoram. B. Ahaziah. C. Ben-Hadad. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 7. Who was the king of Syria that asked for Elisha when he was sick? A. Jehoram. B. Ahaziah. C. Ben-Hadad. Time. Correct answer is C. Ben-Hadad. You know, those questions make me thirsty. All right, 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 10. Elisha told Hazael to tell Ben-Hadad that he would recover. However, what had the Lord shown Elisha? A. He would stay sick all the days of his life. B. It would be a long recovery. C. He would really die. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 10. Elisha told Hazael to tell Ben-Hadad that he would recover. However, what had the Lord shown Elisha? A. He would stay sick all the days of his life. B. It would be a long recovery. C. He would die. Time. The answer is C. He would die. I wouldn't comment on that, but I'm afraid I'd give away answers. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 11. Elisha sat in his countenance in a stare until Hazael was A. Ashamed, B. Nervous, C. Afraid. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 11. Elisha set his countenance in a stare until Hazael was A. Ashamed, B. Nervous, C. Afraid. Time. Correct answer is A. Ashamed. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 13. What had the Lord shown Elisha about Hazael? A. He would lose his arm in battle. B. He would become king of Syria. C. He would... 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 13. What had the Lord shown Elisha about Hazael? A. He would lose his arm in battle. B. He would become king of Syria. C. He would... I'm assuming you have a 50-50 chance on this one. Time. Correct answer is B. He would become king of Syria. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 12. How did Elisha answer Hazael when he asked why Elisha was weeping? A. I know the good you will do. B. I know the evil you will do. C. I know the intent of your heart. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 12. How did Elisha answer Hazael when he asked why Elisha was weeping? A. I know the good you will do. B. I know the evil you will do. C. I know the intent of your heart. Time. Correct answer is B. I know the evil you will do. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 15. How did Hazael kill the king of Syria, Ben-Hadad? A. With a poison in his drink. B. With an arrow in his heart. C. With a thick cloth dipped in water. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 15. How did Hazael kill the king of Syria, Ben-Hadad? A. With poison in his drink. B. With an arrow in his heart. C. With a thick cloth dipped in water. Time. Correct answer is C. With a thick cloth dipped in water. 3 more questions. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 9. Why would the Lord not destroy Judah? A, because of his servant David. B, to preserve his name. C, they obeyed his commands. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 19. Why would the Lord not destroy Judah? A, because of his servant David. B, to preserve his name. C, they obeyed his commands. Time. Correct answer is A, because of his servant David. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 20. Who revolted against Judah and made their own king? A, Damascus. B, Syria. C, Edom. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 20. Who revolted against Judah and made their own king? A, Damascus. B, Syria. C, Edom. Time. Correct answer is C, Edom. Last question. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 18. Who was the wife of Jehoram, king of Judah? A daughter of Ahab. B, Jezebel. C, Abigail. 2 Kings chapter 8, verse 18. Who was the wife of Jehoram, king of Judah? A daughter of Ahab. B, Jezebel. C, Abigail. Time. Correct answer is A daughter of Ahab. So I am just curious, did anybody get all of them right? Shoot me a message in the text box or somewhere and let me know how you did. I got one message that I missed one, so there's somebody who didn't get all of them right. Let me know if you got them all right. I can wait a few minutes. Hey, on the screen, this is where you can find us online. We will have worship Sunday morning at 10. We are not doing Bible classes. We are here for worship if you feel comfortable coming. If you're not in a high-risk category, if you don't have a fever, if you don't have any symptoms, if you feel like being in a crowd or around a group of people, we're trying to social distance. Oh, Mary got 20 right. Cool. If you're trying to social distance, we understand that, and during worship, we're not asking families to social distance, but if you're living in the same house, you can sit close together in church. But outside of that, we are asking, families to stay 6 feet apart. We haven't had any difficulty with that. So, we got a few people. Linda Lipscomb got all correct. Way to go, Linda. Jeff Butler, 22. All right, so we're learning some things. But if you would like to be here Sunday, we will be here for worship at 10. There are no Bible classes, and we are not meeting on Wednesday night. We're only live night. This is also Senior Sunday, so we will be honoring our seniors this Sunday. Looking forward to that. A great group of young men and young women. So if you'd like to join us, we will be here. And again, we're going to try to social distance with that. If we need to, we have overflow rooms available. We can send you to another room to watch the live stream. But I hope you enjoyed class tonight. It's kind of different. It's a little different style than I'm used to teaching, honestly, a little bit. Just trying to draw some lessons from the text, but also make sure that we cover it correctly for the kids who are going to do Bible Bowl. And I tell you, I am a huge fan of Bible Bowl. I love the fact that, our at Clarksville Highway, we have kids who have really learned the text because of Bible Bowl, and they've really covered some incredible books over the years that I've been here. And doesn't have anything to do with me. What they covered. Bible Bowl is it's in Cookeville. It's run by another organization if you want to look into that. But it's been a really great thing to teach our kids the Bible. Hope if you're listening and tuning in, maybe you can be a part of that. I love going up there and watching the competition. All those kids are there answering Bible questions. It's just really cool. And just really think hard about being part of that. And hopefully through these live streams, we can start the process of learning. If you got any questions about any of those, you can go to ClarksvilleHighwayChurch.com or GospelChariot.church. I think you can find my email on both of those. The GospelChariot.church, I'm not really sure I've ever put my email on my own website. I'll try to do that. But if you have a question, please do that. I'm going to give one other plea. If you go to the Clarksville Highway Church of Christ or the Gospel Chariot Church Facebook page, and I know some of you are listening tonight, I am doing a very informal information gathering. I'm working on a series of sermons that I'm going to be doing toward the end of this year, and the sermon title is Asking for a Friend. You know, these are the questions that you go and you ask, and you say, well, I've got a friend who, or I got a friend who would like to know, and this sermon series is called Asking for Friends. There is a link on both of those Facebook pages to a form. It's a Google form. It's totally anonymous. I have no idea who sends a question in. If you have a question that you really want me to answer, just email me that question, or put on there, you know, Greg, send me your email address or something. But I'll try to make sure my email address is on both of those websites. If there's a question you really want me to answer, send me an email and I'll make sure I answer it. I'm just compiling all of those. I'm looking for the most asked Bible question. So it's a series of sermons asking for a friend. It's going to be about 8 weeks. So go on to one of those sites, please, to one of those Facebook pages, find that post. It's a little video, and then explaining what I'm doing, and then it has a link under it where you can go to a Google form. Please give me your suggestions, asking for a friend. It's totally anonymous. I have no idea who's asking which questions. So, hey, hope you enjoyed tonight. Glad that we were able to do this. Oh, Buddy got 23. All right. So, a few more scores coming in. But hey, I hope you enjoyed tonight, and we will cover part of 2 Kings next week, the next 2 chapters. Not sure if I'm going to do that, or maybe Jeff is going to do that, but we haven't decided that yet. But please, go to that Facebook page, find that post asking for a friend, and send me your number one spiritual, theological, Bible question. No question is off limits. Put those on there, and I'll compile those and develop this sermon series out of those questions, because I want to hear the questions that you're asking. Everyone have a great night. I hope you have a great weekend. Please stay safe. And it's just my prayer that we'll all stay safe through this. And signing off for tonight. And hey, join us next week, 7 o'clock, or Sunday morning at 10